Hello guys, I'm sorry that I've had such a long hiatus, but I've been having some health issues but I've made a lot of discoveries and I want to go ahead and get those out there. So, alright, really important one, really big one is that I found how to connect the Jungian Cognitive Functions to the astrological houses. So, alright, let me go ahead and say in this video, at this point, which functions relate to which houses. Alright, so, and they're not in order at all in which houses they correlate to. The only ones that are the same are the first, third, and fourth house. They're the first house is the first function, the third house is the third function, the fourth house is the fourth function. Alright, but the 11th house is actually the second function. The 10th house is the fifth function. The 8th house is the sixth function. The 12th house is the seventh function, and then the 7th house is the eighth function. Okay, so it's not in order at all. So, alright. Now, let me, describe why each one is which. Alright. So, basically, and then I'm going to also give a clear-cut description of what each of the houses actually represent, as opposed to how they are now, where they are very like when you read one, it could be the other one. Like, it's very confusing. So here is each one clarified. Pretty clear. I've been working on it for 7 or 8 years. Pretty clear. As clear as I can get it. Alright. First house is the self that you appear as you're going after your 12th house goal. Alright. So, in order to explain that, let me say what the first and 12th house are, in relation to each other. So, as I said, the 12th house is the seventh function. And so, for instance, I'm Taurus rising, and this is from studying archetypes, not from me going off of my birth time. So, alright, my 12th house is Aries. My first house is Taurus, because I'm a Taurus rising. Your 12th house is the goal that you're actually going after. Your first house is your life path, because it's what you appear as you're going after that 12th house goal. Because you're so spiritually advanced in that 12th house area, because that's your soul and no one can see it, because your soul is the head of your body and it's directing the whole reason it's there and leading you towards something to begin with. So of course it isn't manifested yet. So so for instance, if I'm a 12th house Aries and I'm supposed to be trailblazing, and I'm attempting to trailblaze, then I'm not gonna, if I'm on the forefront of something, there's not gonna be a foundation there for me to be able to rely on. I have to build it all myself. So, hence why I appear as a Taurus. Because I am having to literally build the steps I am taking, or at least feels that way. Because, and again, it goes in with me being an INTP, and the dominant function being the first house, because it's I'm having to logically analyze and build systematically the steps. And people view me as an introverted thinker because of thinking before I take a step and being patient like the Taurus, and all those things. So All right. So, then the second house. Well, before I go through the houses, actually, yeah, let me describe. Okay. Let me describe which houses. Yeah, describe the houses in the order of the functions, actually. So, yeah, the 11th house is related to the second function, and the 11th house is really your support systems, your networks, as in like neural networks, things that support you. So since the second function is what supports your first house, then it relates to your 11th house because it's supporting you. And also all the connections that you make, or at least in my case as an INTP, but really it's with everyone. But it's ironic that I'm an INTP saying it because like it's so directly related to any extrovert intuition. But yeah, but then is it really ironic because I'm making the video and I knew I was going to make the video. But yeah, so but yeah, the 11th house will be your second function for that reason, and yeah, and it's what is supporting your first one, pretty much no matter what type you are. So then your third house is your third function, which is your tertiary or child function, and it's because the third house is really like things you do on a whim, and that's why like your third function is related to it because it's like a thing that you try to do every once in a while, and then like you either do well at it, maybe sometimes you do well, most of the time you don't because you don't really work on it because you just try to do it out of nowhere. So yeah, so then the fourth house would be related to the fourth function, which is called the aspirational or inferior function. And they say, like in astrology, it's your home, and and that implies that it's like your comfort zone, like what you're comfortable doing, which could be confused with like, aren't you comfortable with doing any of those other things? But really, what it is it's how you end up getting taken care of end up getting taken care of in general. So your inferior function or aspirational function is the thing that other people just basically end up having to do for you most of the time because you can't really get around to it or can't it's hard for you to tap into because of the other stuff that's going on with you. Like for instance, I have Leo in the fourth house, so it's hard for me to be center stage because in order to be center stage, there has to be a stage. And if you're the one that is making the first thing, like, you're the ones having to make the material in the first place, then you aren't going to really have a stage to stand on. So, yeah. And it's hard for people to really care about looking at that thing because why should they? So yeah, that type of thing. So, and then, yeah, then the fifth function would be the 10th house, and it's like, I got off the Talking with Famous People channel. It's, I was seeing their video about you making a scorecard, and the 10th house is like your status or what how you grade yourself in the world, basically. And that's your fifth function because it's what you're, pitting yourself up against, like basically like, with my TI or whatever, is my TI strong enough to deal with the TE in the world? So it's like, your status is how well you're able to take that first function, and then, how well you're able to do in the world, against that opposition there. So yeah, and then you know, and like the KRS channel, he calls it like, you know, the jungle. Yeah. So, all right. And then, oh, what's next? Oh yeah, this sixth function, which is the eighth house, which is the critical parent function. It's how you can see things going wrong before you attempt to do them, and other people end up usually getting to do it more because you are criticizing it and holding yourself back from going to go do it. So like, for instance, being a Taurus rising, I have Sagittarius there, so I hold myself back from exploring or having these new experiences because I want to make sure that I have that foundation for that new thing I'm trying to bring in, and that keeps me from being able to have a whole bunch of like adventures because I'm always having to work on that. And, you know, and then I'm foreseeing how, like, if I just randomly went and explored somewhere, then I could, you know, get messed up somehow because I went to go do some, you know, random thing or whatever. And, like, yeah. So that's how that works. So then the seventh function would be the 12th house, like I was talking about before. It's your soul's goal, what you're really trying to do. So, me being an INTP, you know, Taurus rising, my real goal is to be able to go do a bunch of, be able to go physically do a bunch of crazy stuff, like, you know, even to the point of thinking like, you know, watching like Dragon Ball Z and being like, I'm gonna figure out how to do the shit that Goku is doing. I'm gonna figure out how to fly and go Super Saiyan and like do all that stuff. So how do I make it physically possible to be able to go actually do those things? And in the meantime, I'm having to sacrifice being able to do the normal, like getting up and going to go do stuff, you know, because I'm thinking that's going to possibly result in me hurting my body. So I'm not going to be able to go, you know, be able to do the really cool stuff in the future that no one's done before because I'm going to mess myself up first before I get to go do it. So I'm willing to like sacrifice that, put that off so that I can actually get the ultimate, you know, Aries goal, the ultimate, like, you know, extroverted sensing. So yeah. So then, hurrah. Yeah. So the eighth function is actually the seventh house. This is because the seventh house is supposed to be other people, like others, like what you definitely don't relate to in yourself. How you know, what you see other people as being a lot more of than you. So I have Scorpio there. So, you know, Scorpio is, you know, you having a really like embedded, intense feeling, you know, that like, you know, it's people compare it to ice that you're not willing to like budge off of, and that would be like, you know, introverted feeling. So yeah, and also I want to include in that Scorpio, like Scorpios aren't always like introverted feelers. It gets a lot more mixed up when you start talking about the signs themselves. There's a lot more variability there, but the structure of the houses is consistent. It's the same as the ordering of the functions. And then in the future, I may be able to find, you know, certain patterns of like if you have certain signs in those houses, it'll lead to you being like this type. But as for now, I'm not saying Scorpio is always introverted feeling or anything like that. So, but I'm saying in my case, the way they come together is, yeah, it happens to be that the eighth function is introverted feeling for me, and it's on the seventh house, so I relate to myself being, you know, totally not going off of my own feeling and just acting on that. Or, you know, due to just, you know, a feeling I have inside, I always, you know, choose the logic first, so yeah. I suppose I'll make a separate video now going through what each of the houses is supposed to represent, now that I've gotten that clarified. That is out there. Finally. Alright. Yeah. Thank you guys. Like this, comment, subscribe. No, I'll get around to that Leoing at some point. But yeah. Alright, so yeah. See you guys later.